Hey, it's Huck, and I want to apologize. Um, I have the reddest nose, and it's because I have some kind of I don't know, I guess I had a pimple or something on there. It was real sore yesterday, and now it hurts. It actually hurts. It's well, at any rate, I don't know. I kind of feel like I don't know, some kind of cartoon character. But at any rate, um, I'm trying to be a little cautious today because, like much of the Midwest and good portion of the country, I guess, we're under a heat wave. Today, I woke up, it was nearly 80 degrees. I mean, so it didn't cool off much last night. It was, well, and, I think the coolest it got last night was like in the 70s. And I got up actually about 6:30. I get up really early and I go to bed, really early. Um, and I watch maybe one of my news programs in bed. Like last night, I watched the end of the Indians game, Cleveland Indians, and then I tried to watch Chris Hayes. Um, but there was no way I was going to stay up for Rachel Maddow, and I went to bed. And at any rate, I record certain shows every night. The main reason I wanted to talk to you, though, today, despite the unsightly visual appearance, I, am, like I think many of you, appalled, alarmed, a little concerned, certainly, at the at the all out uh, racist um, language that we're now seeing. It seems like President Trump is just going to push the envelope um, each and every month until he sees just how far he can push his very loyal base. It's like that's not far enough. Let's see if you'll cross this line. Let's see if you'll cross this line. Um, and it it convinces me though that his base is uh, much more shallow than can possibly win another election. I'm hoping that that's true, but you know what I find concerning and a little frightening is the fact that he has done this before. He keeps, like I say, he keeps upping the ante. He keeps pushing the envelope, and despite all of the things that he has done, all of the crazies that he has, appointed, and all of the things that he has said. Despite that, just as recently as a week or two ago, he was polling, with his highest poll numbers. And I realize that part of that is due to the fact that, the economy, numbers wise, employment numbers wise, have been swimming along. And I think most people are, frankly, not paying close enough attention to all of this. I mean, I think there's ample evidence that the majority of folks don't ever watch the news, don't ever pick up a newspaper. And even while many of us, like me, are addicted to our news feeds on our social media, vast majority of folks I don't think are. And so I think a lot of this just goes by. But I think the most frightening thing of all is just how popular Trump remains with Republicans in general. And it seems to me that most people that identify now as Republican are just going to go down that road no matter where he leads them. I have to believe that that means that there's a good number of Republicans who have already, for all intents and purposes, in their mind, already left the party, already consider themselves independent. And so these polls that are indicating that 90% of Republicans don't feel that Trump is a racist, or that, at any rate, all of this sums up to me to mean that come 2020, I don't see how he can win an election. The Democrats would have to stumble really stumble with a big faux pas. Of course, they're going to get plenty of help. They're already getting it. They expect no shortage of foreign interference. I mean, I don't know if any of you, have noticed recently, but almost anything posted, like for instance on Facebook, and I'm sure the same is probably true on Instagram or Twitter, which I don't follow as closely at all. In fact, Instagram, I don't do Instagram. But even Twitter, I don't really get on there much anymore. But Facebook, I do. I do scroll through my feeds, and I get a lot of news, from certain sites that show up on my news feed, and I sometimes will read them, especially if they're, news articles from the New York Times or Washington Post. Sometimes things from MSNBC or CNN. But if there's anything positive or negative about Trump, you will see, I can only assume, trolls will just, they'll put something on there like maybe a very short comment followed by Trump 2020, or just the words Trump 2020. And then the article itself might be talking about, something terrible that Trump just did or said. And still you'll see usually some foreigner, at least a foreign name, which will, and often a minority, and all I can think is that this has got to be a fake account, that this is possibly being operated by a Russian or who knows what. But at any rate, and then there'll be like 157, comments on that person telling them what an idiot they are. And of course, the fact that they got so many replies shoves their comment to the very top of the list. And so as you're scrolling through, that's the one comment you'll see would be Trump 2020. It's all a strategy. That's the Trump social media strategy. Wouldn't be a bit surprised if that's not Russia related. But at any rate, my greater point is I am cautiously optimistic that I got to get my thumb out of the way, I guess. I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic that the Democratic nominee, whoever that may be, is going to win in 2020. Certainly because I do believe the majority of America, regardless of how self-identified Republicans may feel about it, simply do not want an avowed racist an obvious racist as president. Um, Not just his racism or his misogyny or his xenophobia, but I mean, he is just the most divisive political leader we have, certainly ever had or seen in my lifetime. I mean, he really does remind me in many ways of, George Wallace. Although with Wallace, it was largely black folks. With Trump, I think it's mostly almost anybody that's not white European. So, at any rate, I have a strong feeling that we're going to see. I mean, I look at it this way: Hillary Clinton was almost historically unpopular Democrat running because of the years and years, decades really of largely misinformation and slander, against her. I mean, say what you will about her husband and his, sexual escapades or whatever, but a lot of the attacks on her and on the Clintons in general, had nothing to do with that, and a lot of them were just false alarms or false flags. But at any rate, they did a very thorough job, and I think a lot of people, stayed home or said, "Oh, what the hell? I'm going to pull the lever the other way. What have I got to lose?" Despite all that, Hillary Clinton really probably won that election were it not for all of the, the interference and the gerrymandered elections and I guess the gerrymandering probably didn't have as much effect as the voter suppression efforts in states, in southern states. But be that as it may, I mean, it was relatively few votes in basically 3 states that won Trump, the decision when he lost the overall election by nearly 3 million votes. I don't see that happening this time. In my opinion, I think people are going to turn out in droves to remove this guy. I mean, I think if there was a recall election right now, if that were a thing, we would probably set a new record for turnout just to see him be removed. So, at any rate, those are my thoughts right now. I am going to try to stay indoors here for the next couple of days. It's Friday today. I know through tomorrow and Sunday, the heat index here in northeastern Ohio is supposed to be well over 100, maybe as high as 110. The temperatures rising to between 90 and 95 degrees each day. For me, that can be really dangerous. I've not suffered too many of the effects here. Last couple of days, I've been feeling okay, but I have been taking it really easy. I've not been going outside much, and if I do, I try to do it, early or late. Of course, I have to let the dog out, but other than that, I've been trying to keep. At any rate, normally after a couple of days of this kind of weather, it does get to me. So we'll see how I'm doing. By Monday, things will return a little bit more to normal, with temperatures down to about 80 degrees again or so. Hopefully, I'll be okay. So anyway, I mean, I'm fine right now. So that's a good thing. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing these next 2 Democratic debates coming up at the very end of this month. And I hope to talk to you before then. Thanks again. We'll see you again real soon.